What's up, everybody? I'm back. Yeah, just kidding. Anyways, we are in week whatever of groups, and I'm doing the video this week, so you're welcome. It's about to be sick. But anyways, we are talking about integrity, which was the message from 2 weeks ago. So refresh your brain and get that on track. And we have 4 questions today, and so I'll start off with the first one. Jesus is talking to a group of people, and he says, he kind of talks about keeping promises and keeping covenant and all that kind of stuff. But then he says, don't even make the promise, just say yes and say no. And so here's the question I have. What do you think the difference is that Jesus is trying to make here of not only just like encouraging people to keep their promises, that's what you think he would do, but he says don't even do that, don't even make a promise. So what's the difference between keeping a promise, right, and that being a good thing, or just simply saying yes and no? What's the difference that Jesus is trying to make there? Hopefully that's clear as mud. Go for it. Okay, second question. So later on in that conversation, Jesus talks about how anything more than a yes or a no is evil, which I feel like is pretty harsh language. So let's talk about that. Why do you think anything more than a yes or a no is evil? Not just bad, evil. Let's talk about that. Why does Jesus say that? Ready, set, go. All right, third question here. So it's kind of an interesting, we could think maybe that this conversation is contradictory to what we've seen in the Bible, because Jesus and God himself makes covenant with us. And also for those of you that are married in the room, you made a covenant with your husband or wife. And so here's a question I have. What's the difference between like a godly covenant and this like promising that Jesus is talking about? There is a difference, well, I'm sure there's many differences, but the one I'm thinking about, I'll let you know after when we get back, okay? So what's the difference between a godly covenant and a promise that Jesus is talking about? Ready, set, go. Okay, we're back. The reason I was thinking, and this is something that my dad had talked about when he was preaching, was that the promises that they were making, that Jesus is addressing, were promises that would have like this backdoor loophole so that you could get out of it eventually. I promise on this, I swear on this, and if this happens, with the fingers crossed behind the back or whatever. The thing about a godly covenant, like a covenant of marriage where we put rings on the finger and we make essentially a promise to each other, is that there's no loophole. Like this is for life. Like we're doing this for reals, and so that's, I think, what the difference between is like a covenant that we see between God and us and our spouse, and then the promises that are being addressed here. The last question we have, real quick, is more of like a discussion point for you guys to get talking about your own stories. So what is a time where you can remember that you didn't keep a promise, or you weren't truthful in some area and you fell short? Talk about that. And maybe it's as simple as like for me, maybe I promised Vince I would take him to the park tomorrow and we didn't go. Or maybe it's something bigger than that. In any scale, let's talk about it and talk how you would do it differently the next time. And so maybe you wouldn't make that promise, or maybe you would just say, I'll do it, and stick to your word. I don't know what it is for each and every one of you, but let's have that conversation. Talk about some stories where we could have been better and we can grow together. Ready, set, go. See you later. Bye. Love you. Bye. Okay, love you.